Welcome back to the Profit Podcast. I am your host for today, Matt Robinson. I am doing a solo show because at the time of recording, we're actually doing this during half term. So that usually means a little change in routine and diary structure for myself and Paul. So we decided to record separate episodes this week, which puts a couple in the bank, which is always good. And means you get a bit of educational content from each of us individually. So in terms of today's show, I'm going to cover something that I've actually spoke about very recently on my social media. So if you've been following me there for any length of time, you've probably seen this. And I'm coining this going from 0 to 10 clients in 4 weeks. Or if you've already got clients, getting your next 10 clients in 4 weeks. Okay. And when I talked about this on social media, I basically broke down the process in under a minute. So I literally flew through this as a structure, as an idea in under a minute. But I wanted to dedicate a podcast episode to it because I felt that with the right level of detail and the right level of context, you would understand this a lot better. And hopefully it would give you the confidence to actually go away and try it. Okay. So I'm going to give you a bit of an overview first and give you some context and give you some numbers as to how this has been used in my own business. And then we'll look into actually breaking that down and implementing this. Okay. So that's what we're covering today. This is a huge opportunity to build something once that generates lots of leads for your business and then use it over and over again. So I believe this is well worth investing some time into and figuring out a way to make it work for you. I'm going to teach you the overriding strategy and the blueprint today. It's up to you to then alter the method by which you want to produce this so that it suits you, your business, and your target audience. So before we dig into the details of what this actually involves and how you're going to set this up, let's look at the big picture of what it is that this 4-week structure is actually allowing you and your business to do. Okay, so what we're doing over this 4-week period, in very, very simple terms, is we are going to promote an event, we are going to host an event, and then we are going to upsell from that event into some trials or challenges or whatever it is that you sell as a front end offer for your business. We've spoken at length before about having some sort of front end offer to entice people in. This is going to allow you to generate leads into that front end offer in quite an easy fashion, especially if you are a gym-based personal trainer that's got quite a lot of footfall. This is a great way to get in front of a lot of people in one go. Even if you're online, you can still implement this as well, which again is why I think this is a great structure to teach, because you can apply this online, offline, you can do the two together, and it works really, really well. So from a 30,000 foot view perspective, looking down on this strategy, we're essentially running a bit of a seminar funnel. That's what some fancy marketer would probably call it, where we basically bring people into a seminar or a webinar if you're doing it online, and then we're selling off the back end. The key to this working well for your business is that if we've got that offer right at the back end of the seminar, you will convert a hell of a lot of those people into full paying clients that do full packages with you for a long time. That's the key to getting this working really well and creating a lot of security within your business. Okay. So from a 30,000 foot view, that's what this looks like. Just to give you a little bit of reasoning and understanding as to why I think it's important to give something like this a go and maybe hone that process over time, is that processes like this are really great in terms of repeatability. So you can create a really good seminar once, and other than doing a few tweaks, you don't have to sort of reinvent the wheel every time you do this. You can repeat this a couple of times a year, maybe even more frequently than that, and have a really good way to generate leads for your business. So you're not having to constantly pluck new ideas out of the air. You can actually do a lot of good work in one go and then reuse it, which I always think is worth doing as a business owner. There's a lot of stuff that we do where we create once and we're only ever able to use it once. If we've got something we can create and reuse again and again, I believe that's always worth trying to do and spending some time on. The other thing that this structure does really, really well is it introduces lots of people to the idea of selling one to many. And what I mean by that is, as a personal trainer, a lot of the selling that you'll have done in the past is done one-to-one. So you sit down in a consultation, or you speak to someone on a sales call, or you do some sort of induction process with someone one-to-one and then speak to them about your services from there. And selling one-to-one is a great way to initially introduce yourself to sales and hone your skills. But if you can start to create a model that allows you to sell one to many, it means that you can have fewer sales conversations and actually generate a lot more sales, because you can have one sales conversation and generate lots off the back of that one thing that you're doing. Okay. So it can make your life a lot easier, especially when you get good at doing it that way. So selling one to many is a great tool, and it's a great skill to learn and develop, because I believe that it's one of these skills and tools that we can take with us wherever we decide to journey in the future with our businesses, whether we stay in person or whether we go online, whether we start to change what our niche is or anything like that. Having that as a skill set is really, really useful, and it will serve you for many years to come. Just to give you some context as to where I've used this in my business, and where, as a bigger company, where Profit used to use this type of structure as well. We used to run a program across the gyms called Total Loser. We used to run this in January, and people used to sell up for a big group program where they would get one session a week as a group over a 12-week period. And it was a weight loss challenge, basically. But on the very first session that those participants had, we always did a presentation to teach them how to get better results, what to eat, things they should be doing outside of the 1 a week session we were giving them. And at the end of that presentation, we used to do an upsell. We used to sell some personal training trials. And off the back of that, we used to generate loads of interest in personal training that wasn't there before, because just having sat through the presentation, people started to see the value in having a trainer other than just being beasted in a session. They saw all the other things that we were able to help people do. And that always works really, really well in terms of bringing new leads into the business and then having those people sign up to full PT packages. So that's something we used to do company-wide. On a more personal note, when myself and a colleague used to run a lot of group programs in our gym, we used to have a few groups running concurrently that were always really busy and really popular. To get those off the ground, we ran a few seminars in the gym to get these things up and running. And we found that they converted really well. So in one of our seminars, for example, we had 15 attendees, and we managed to convert 13 of the 15 onto the full training plan that we were offering at the time, which was an 8-week program. On the worst seminar we ever did, this was on a Saturday morning. It was at like a terrible time. It was probably far too early on a Saturday for anyone to bother turning up, but 3 people showed up and all 3 people signed up. So even though it was terrible in terms of turnout, we converted at 100%. Okay. So all 3 of the women that showed up joined the program and then stayed afterwards. So these seminars can work really well. They can work well for promoting group programs, one-to-one packages, trials, challenges, whatever it is. You can apply this system to suit your business. We've just got to find what's going to work well based on what you want that final outcome to be. Okay. So hopefully I've sold you on the idea of giving this a go if you've not tried this before, or maybe if it's something you used to do but you stopped doing, it might be something you want to look back on. We want to create a model where you can bring people in to a seminar, provide lots of value, and then sell off the back of it. The reason this works so well is that by providing all of that value, you're giving people a lot up front, so people don't feel like they're being sold to straight away, which is often the case with health and fitness. You're actually giving them a lot in advance. And not only that, you're actually really, really positioning yourself as the go-to expert in the gym, because if there's no one else running these things, or if people didn't even know that a personal trainer could help with these things, the fact that you're able to run a seminar, even if it's only on a really simple topic, to the audience, that's really going to put you on a pedestal, and they're going to think, wow, this person isn't just a trainer, they're an excellent trainer, they're really knowledgeable, they know the stuff. Maybe you've got some before and afters in your presentation as well, so they can see that you get results. Maybe they've actually been watching you with your clients for the last few months as well, so they know that you get along really well with people. And this just positions you really well, so that at the end of that seminar, when you've got that immediate call to action and that thing that they can get involved with straight away, it just makes sense for them to take that low risk opportunity to come and try you out as a trainer and see what it's like to be one of your clients for a few weeks. So that's why this works really well. We've seen this work for years. It's still something that I don't think enough people do. And I do think it's really flexible in terms of applying it to different areas of your business, online, offline, whatever it is you're up to, one-to-one and group. So it's just about sitting down and figuring out where it fits in for you. So now that I've gone into some of the sort of overview of what this involves, let's take a little closer look at what this might look like if we were going to break this down over a 4-week period. Because one of the things that's tripped trainers up in the past when I've spoke to them about this is they spend 8 weeks planning a seminar and writing a presentation, and then they spend half a day promoting it and then wonder why no one shows up. Okay. So we're going to close in this time scale. We're going to make this a tight time scale, and we're going to give each week a very clear focus so that you're sort of holding yourself to a deadline and you get this done quicker, because the quicker you get your first one done and the quicker you make those initial mistakes that you're going to make, regardless of how long you spend preparing, the quicker you're then able to learn and iterate and make this better and start to generate leads on a much bigger scale. Okay. So let's look at how we might break this down across the weeks. Okay. So week 1, what we're going to do here is 2 things concurrently. We're going to start the process of actually writing your presentation. If you haven't already got one, some of you might have things that you've already done before. I actually think that most of you will probably have something already made. You just don't realize you've made it yet. It might just be some sort of education you've been through with your own clients that you've helped them out with. It might be something you did just with one client to help them out. It might be something that you do as part of your onboarding process. But we're going to put together the bones and the structure of this presentation, okay, in this first week. And at the same time, we're going to start going out there and collecting details and people that might want to attend this event. So let's take the presentation first. Let's take the seminar first, or the webinar, and what that might look like. All you really want to do in your seminar is help people solve a problem that they've been struggling with for a long time in the simplest way possible. So usually a great place to start with something like this, if you're struggling with ideas, is to teach people something as simple as the nutritional approach required to help them get better weight loss. So if you can teach them the basics of calories and things like that, energy balance, energy expenditure, maybe working out their own calories and things like that, stuff that people tend to overcomplicate because they think they should be on a keto diet or something else. If we can just break what seems like an overwhelming subject down into its most simplest parts, and to you, it would probably feel like you're not teaching them enough. You might feel like, wow, I'm teaching like GCSE level information here. That's probably at the right level. It might even need to be simpler than that, because what we've got to remember is people that are walking around the gym have usually had a lot of experience with different approaches and different things that haven't worked. And over time, they've built up this list of beliefs and myths around nutrition, around weight loss, around exercise. And your main job in this seminar is probably going to be to unteach them things rather than teach them new things. Okay. So unless you've got a very specific niche that you're helping, I think a great place to start, if you want to keep things simple and easy for you to do, is just teach energy balance, make it about weight loss. it's probably something you've already taught and you've already got slides on, or you've already got some training videos on that you've done for your clients. So you can use what you've already got and maybe just flesh it out a little bit. And by flesh it out, what I probably mean by that is just move some of that information across a few more slides so that there's maybe less information per slide, and maybe throw into there a little bit of social proof in terms of before and afters and things like that, maybe right at the start of the presentation to give you a bit of credibility at the beginning as people are sat down watching you for the first time, and then maybe sprinkle some of those through the presentation as well. Okay. So your presentation across that first week shouldn't take long to do at all. If you're spending more than 2 hours putting something on a PowerPoint or on a Canva presentation or something like that, then you're overthinking this far too much. Okay. And if any of you haven't ever produced a presentation on Canva before, I would highly recommend that, because it is so easy and the templates on there are amazing. It makes it look like you're some sort of PowerPoint wizard, even when you're not, like me. Okay. So that's the first thing you're going to look at in this first week. The other thing you're going to be doing as you go about your day-to-day stuff is you're going to be speaking to people on the gym floor, or if you're an online trainer, you're going to be speaking to people online via social media or whatever platforms you've got. And we're just going to start to say to people, like, you're going to do your general chit chat. You're going to ask them about what they're there for and this, that, and the other. And you're going to keep it fairly brief at this point, but you're just going to say to them, at the end of next week, I'm going to be running a fantastic event that would be perfect for someone like you. I'm not releasing the details until next week. Can I take your name, number, and email address now? And I'll let you know as soon as I'm releasing the information. Okay. So we're using the announcement of the seminar as a reason for people to give you their contact details now, so that you can follow up with them later. So in the first week, that's how you're going to introduce the idea to people, and that's how you're going to get some contact information from them. You want to build some excitement around this event and around this seminar. Okay. So just to reiterate, week one is 2 things. Write your presentation, put it all together. Second thing is to start building some excitement in your facility or in your online community, wherever it is, about what's coming. You're not going to tell them yet what it is, but you're going to almost get people to put themselves on a bit of a waiting list, so that when that information becomes available, they're the first to know. So that there is week one. Week two, this is all about the big reveal, and it's about trying to bolster those numbers that you've got down on your list of attendees. Okay. So for anyone that's already on your list, at the start of the second week, you're going to follow up with these people. So you're going to drop them an email. You're going to let them know what the event is, where it's being hosted, what you're going to cover, give them some information, maybe give them a few teasers as to things that are going to be in there. You're also going to follow up with these people in person as you see them again in the gym. So maybe go and have a quick chat with them and say to them, did you get the email? What do you think about the event? Are you going to come along? So we just want to follow up with those people. And then at the same time, we're going to speak to new people that we haven't yet spoken to the previous week. And with these people, we can straight away introduce the idea of this seminar that we're running, and how fantastic it's going to be, and how useful it's going to be for them, and how it's going to help them on their journey more than they've potentially ever been helped before. Okay. Completely free event, and it's going to massively help them in every aspect of their health and fitness journey. So we've got people from week one. We've got new people that we're meeting for the first time, potentially in week two. Anyone that you've already got contacts in the gym as well, obviously, start speaking to those. Same online. Any email lists that you've got and things like that, get it out there that way as well. And make sure that people know that at the end of the second week, maybe over the weekend, this event is going to be happening. It's going to last about 60 minutes. Here's what you're going to cover. Here's what you're going to learn. Here's all the things it's going to help you solve. And make sure that people are fully aware of what's going on. Now, a top tip here is anyone that seems really interested in this event, but says that they can't attend because the day or the time doesn't suit them or whatever, I would recommend a couple of things. Number one, if you've got time available to do so and you think this person could be a good lead, offer to go through this with them one-to-one at a time that suits them. So instead of doing like a one-to-one consultation with someone like you might normally do, you're just going to sit them down and go through this presentation in a one-to-one format instead. It's the same amount of time cost for you as doing a consultation, but you're just going to do it in a different way. The other thing that you could do, if you didn't have the time to do that, is you could make sure that you record the event, and then you can make sure that anyone that doesn't attend or that wanted to attend and couldn't then gets a recording of that event afterwards. So there's still that opportunity for them to see you present, get some information, get some education, and then get exposed to that upsell as well at the end. Okay. So there's a couple of things you can think about there. The other thing I want you to think about in this second week is have a little bit of a target for yourself. So when it comes to seminars, if we're aiming for 10 clients on the back end, and I'm going to run through the numbers in full later on in this episode, at this point in time, in terms of names of attendees, we would like to see about 60 names on your list, which might seem like a really huge amount of people. But again, if you're walking around a commercial gym, that gym's probably got anything between 3,500 and 6,000 members. There's loads of people. You've got people that you've spoke to before. You've got people that have inquired about your services before, maybe even clients that you used to train that have left. You've got people online, you've got social media, you've got email lists. Like if you pull together everything you've got, you should hopefully be able to get about 60 names on that list. Now, if you can't get 60 names on that list, that's fine. We just have to accept that on the back end, you might not get 10 clients. It might be a fewer number, which for you might not be a bad thing anyway. You might not need to take on 10 clients, but this is just to give you an idea from the numbers perspective. And again, I'm going to run through that in full towards the end. So 60 names is the target at this point. Those 60 people are separate from anyone that you might run through with this one-to-one. Okay. So anyone that you're going to do this one-to-one with, because they can't attend your seminar, this doesn't include those. It's 60 names of people that are interested in attending your seminar. That then takes care of week 2. Okay, so as we're moving into week 3, and this also sort of straddles the back end of week 2, we're going to obviously run your event and do the upsell, which then leads us into the next 2 weeks. So if you were to think of this process in 2 halves, weeks 1 and 2 is all about promotion. Weeks 3 and 4 is all about delivery and then selling people into full packages. So at the end of week 2, let's say it's going to be on a Saturday or whatever, whenever you deem a good time for you to do this in the gym, or it might even be the following Monday. It might be the first day of week 3. We're going to run this seminar at a time that's, usually good for people to be coming and engaging with health and fitness. Find somewhere suitable to do it. You've got 60 names on your list. We're going to expect a show up rate of about 50% if we've done a good job of promoting the event and selling people on the idea of what they're going to learn and things like that. Okay. So in terms of finding a space big enough, just bear that in mind. If you get 50% turning up, obviously you need a decent sized space to house 30 people or however many people you're expecting. Don't worry if it's not 30. Like I said in one of my examples right at the start of the podcast, one of our best ever seminars had 15 people in it, but the conversion on it was huge. Okay. So make sure you've got suitable space. You're going to deliver your educational component. That's going to take up about 40 minutes of the time. Make sure it's interactive. Make sure you give time for a few questions as well and things like that along the way. And then the last 10, 15 minutes of your presentation is going to be talking about your offer that you've got for the people in the room. So it's just for the attendees of the seminar. Here's our special offer. It's a 2-week trial. It's a 2-week challenge. Whatever it is, I'm using a 2-week trial in this example because then it fits into this 4-week window that we've set for ourselves. That's what people are going to be signing up for. And ideally, you want them to sign up for it there and then while they're in the room. You could even say to people, once you leave the room today, this offer isn't available in this form anymore. I'll be shutting the doors on this for quite a while because I'm going to have a lot of people to be working with while I service these trials that I'm selling today. Okay. So we've sold some trials, and then weeks 3 and 4 are about delivery. So in week 3, we are making sure that everyone's been contacted that's bought a trial. Everyone knows what's going on. Everyone's booked in for this week and next. So if they're doing some sort of 2-week trial, depending on how you run yours or your challenges or whatever, in the ones that we run, it's usually 4 sessions over the 2 weeks. So we would want to make sure that everyone's got 2 slots for week 3 and week 4, so that by the end of week 4, everyone has finished their trial. We don't want these trials sort of moving into 5, 6, 7 weeks because they're sort of booking the sessions spread out or anything like that. We want to get this done and dusted as soon as we can and get people into that habit of coming to see us a couple of times a week at the gym. Okay. So week 3 is all about that initial communication. Get people in, get your trials or challenges started, and get people coming to your sessions, feeling energized, feeling excited, lots of contact with them outside of the sessions as well. Let them know what's to be expected in the second session. Let them know then what's expected in the third session the following week. Just make sure that your communication with all these people is really good. And obviously your sessions are fantastic. We have a set process that we follow with our trials that we know works really well for conversions, but whatever process you use, make sure you run through that, or make sure you start to develop that, so that as people spend 2 weeks with you and 4 sessions with you in this case, they've had a really good insight as to what it's like to be one of your clients. And they've now got a much clearer picture as to how they would achieve their result if they were to use you for the help. Okay. So week 3, big on communication, get everyone set in the diary. Week 4, similar again. So making sure everyone understands what's going on, make sure you've had some communication with them over the weekend about that second week and when their slots are. Make sure they're fully aware of what's going on. In the third session, we're going to make them aware that at the end of the 4th session, we're going to take 10 to 15 minutes of that session to talk about what their next steps are. Okay. It's very important that you pre-frame this and you don't just drop it on someone last minute in that 4th session. If you do what a lot of PTs do and get to the end of that last session and then just sort of say, if ever you need anything, let me know, you're not going to create any clients off the back of that. You're not going to get any sales. Similarly, if you just drop it on them and say, do you want to buy some personal training? That's probably not going to work either. Okay. So during these sessions, we're already future pacing the idea of the results they might want longer term, where they might want to be in 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, all of that. We're talking about that in the sessions. And at the end of the 3rd session, we're saying to the person, when you turn up for your next one, this is the last one of the trial. We're going to run through 40 minutes of exercise, 45 minutes. Last bit of the session, I'm going to sit you down and I'm going to make you aware of what the next steps of this process would look like for you. Is that okay? The person will say yes. And now they are in agreement that they're going to sit down with you and talk with you at the end of the next session. When you get to that 4th and final session, or whatever that last session is of your process, do your normal session, do the work as you normally would. Don't make it weird and wonderful just because you're going to have a sales conversation at the end. That always comes across really strange. Then sit them down at the end and just have a general conversation with them about their journey and their experience of your services so far. So you might sit them down and say to them, you know, that was another great session today. What have you made of the work that we've done together so far? Let them explain what they've noticed, and then maybe lead them down the path of starting to talk about how they've noticed that this might help them. So you might want to say something like, so now that you've done a bit of work with a trainer, are you more confident that it's the type of thing that could help you get some results? They're going to answer that yes, because they've probably worked harder than they've ever worked before in the last 2 weeks. They've learned loads of stuff from your seminar. You've had loads of contact with them. They've had a great all-round experience. Providing you get a positive answer to that, which I'm sure you will, you can then say to them, right, okay, so before you leave today, I wanted to make you aware of how I can help you from this point forwards. Is it okay if I just run you through the type of thing that I would prescribe for you and the results that you're looking for? So again, we're just getting their permission. We're getting them to say yes. And then what we would do from here is go into our usual sales conversation that we would have at the end of a conversation. We are going to prescribe them a solution to their problem. We're going to prescribe a package or an offering that we believe best suits that person. And we're going through that normal sales process that we've talked about before on this podcast. Okay. If you do want a more in-depth listen of what that sales conversation sounds like, drop me a message on social media. Find me on Instagram at Matt Robinson PT, and I'll send you the specific episode via DM that we did on that so that we can link you back to that one. Okay. So by the end of that 4th session, they've had a really good experience and they've had a sales conversation. Bearing in mind everything that they've had up until that point, these conversations should go extremely well. They've been to one of your free seminars. So although that didn't cost them any money, it cost them their most valuable asset, which is time. So the fact that they showed up showed that they're really interested. They then decided to spend more of their time and a little bit of money to buy a trial with you. And they've turned up to 4 sessions and experienced that. So again, it's another really strong green light and a big indicator that they're interested in this. They've committed time, they've committed a bit of money. The conversion of these should be really, really high if you've done a good job of your trial. We usually see these convert at the poor end, 70%. Okay, 70% is lowish. Usually they're closer to 80% and above. So that's what we're looking for. And again, I'll run you through some of the numbers at the end. So that's what we're looking for at the end of this 4th week. Now, providing you've done all of that really well, or even 80% of it really well, you should find yourself by the end of that 4-week process with a chunk of brand new clients that are on full paying packages. Okay. You've implemented this idea of selling one-to-many, and you've followed a set process that then converts those people into proper clients at the back end. Now, I've referred to numbers a few times in this, so let me cover those for you now. In our example, I said 60 names. Okay. So the reason I chose 60 was because we were looking for about 10 clients on the back end over this 4-week period. So I'd started from 10 and I'd worked backwards on this one. So 60 names, we would expect a 50% show up rate, which would give 30 people at our seminar. Of those 30 people, we would be looking for about a 50% conversion rate selling a trial. Okay. So of the 30 that show up, we're looking to sell 15 trials. Now, you might actually find you sell more than that. If you're good at sales, you might sell slightly less than that. If you're newer to sales, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you've got a process that's creating sales that you can improve over time. Then once you've sold those trials, I've already discussed the conversion rate on those. We're aiming for a conversion rate of about 70%. That might sound high, but again, if you think back to everything this person has been through up until this point, in terms of like a pre-qualification process, these people are really keen. They've spent time, they've spent money, they've already been coming to the gym, they've seen you deliver education, they know you're an expert, they've seen some before and afters, they've started paying closer attention to when you're working with other people in the gym. They've maybe been and checked you out on social media now for the first time and seen some of your stuff online. They are much more bought in than anyone else that you would ever sit and have a sales conversation with. So these are absolutely prime people to be selling your services to by this point. If your conversion rate isn't at least 70%, then we either need to fix your sales conversations or we need to look back at your trial process and see where that could be improved. Okay. So if we had 15 people on trial, converted 70% of them, that's where we would get our number of 10 clients in 4 weeks. Okay. I think that some of you that are more experienced would probably get better numbers than that. If you're a bit less experienced, it might take a bit of time to improve those numbers. But in general, those are the sorts of targets that I'm sort of setting you as a challenge to go and try and hit. And it'd be interesting to hear if people do better than that or whatever. You'll have to let me know how it goes for you. But those are the breakdowns that we're looking for in terms of carrying through this process. Okay, so to wrap things up for today, I just wanted to summarize everything we've been through. Like I say, initially, this idea, this conversation started as like a 1-minute reel. So I've really fleshed this out for you today. And again, the reason for that is that when I did that as a shorter piece of content, I thought to myself, I actually want people to really go away and give this a go and give this some thought. And I think the only reason you wouldn't do that is if you weren't confident in your ability to do it. So now that you've seen how I've used it, now that you've heard some of the numbers involved, now that you've got some of the context as to where it might fit in the longer term, hopefully that gives you the confidence to go away and try this and actually give it the time and attention it deserves. Because unlike a lot of the other lead strategies that you might do as a one-off, this is something that if you invest in it properly, you can use over and over and over again. And the other thing I want you to think about is, as a PT or as a fitness business owner, you yourself will have experienced this funnel as a customer somewhere. So if ever you've been on a free webinar, or if ever you've attended a free seminar or something like that, or even a paid webinar or a paid seminar, you've been through this type of funnel before yourself. And the chances are you've probably bought some products and services off the back of being through something like this. So if that's you, if you're listening to this now thinking, yeah, I've actually been through some of those things myself, you already know that this process works, because it took you from being a cold lead to being mildly interested, to being very interested, to being bought in and signed up to whatever it is that you ended up buying at the end, whether it be a course or something like that. You've probably been through this process yourself. Okay. So here's how we're going to do that in your business. That's what we've covered today. Quickly run through this again. Week 1 and 2 are all about promotion. So we're going to write the seminar. We're going to start talking to people and let them know that we're going to announce the event the week after. In the second week, we're going to announce the event and start adding more names to that list. We're looking for 60 people in total as a general target. Weeks 3 and 4 are all about the delivery. So we're going to be delivering the seminar at the end of the second week or early in the third week, and upselling some trials off the back of that. We are then delivering those trials through those last 2 weeks to convert those into full paying clients off the back of it. Use this process. Let me know what you think of it. If you're struggling to think about how this might apply to your business, then feel free to reach out. Again, you can find me on Instagram at Matt Robinson PT. You can find me there. Drop me a DM, drop me a message. If you're struggling to see how you might get this to work, or if you just want some help implementing this into your business, then reach out, let me know. I'm happy to help wherever I can. And hopefully this has come at a good time for you, so that you can start either preparing to do this right away and get some leads into your business at the back end of the year. Or you might say to yourself, I'm going to make sure that this is something that is part of my January strategy, so that as the gym is filling up with new members, I can get in front of those people right away. And on that note, if you are running seminars and things in the gym, make sure that the membership teams and stuff are letting new members know, because again, it's something that will help them sell more memberships. If they can say to people, if you join now, we've actually got a seminar going on next week, it's a great reason for them to buy that membership now, rather than, delaying that decision, and they can get introduced to you straight away. So make sure we're making use of all those resources. Make sure you're reaching out to me if you need any extra help and advice. For now, I just want you to go away and see how you can implement this into your business. Those of you that do that and iterate it over time are never going to struggle to generate leads for your business. And then once you understand the principles of selling one to many, you can take this anywhere with you across different areas and different avenues of your business. And especially if you go online, it can work really well for you. Until next time, take care, and let me or Paul know if you need anything.